Are you shocked to see former allies turning on Trump? The EU and Canada just struck back hard. Is this the cost of MAGA? The world watched in disbelief. The leader of the free world, the champion of democracy, had turned inward. Donald Trump, in his quest to make America great again, had ignited a global trade war. His policies, meant to bolster American industry, had instead alienated allies and fractured long-standing partnerships. The European Union and Canada, once steadfast friends, found themselves on the opposite side of a burgeoning economic conflict. Trump's promise of American dominance had come at a steep cost, leaving the world wondering at what price greatness. The world held its breath, anxious and uncertain about the future. The initial shock of Trump's policies had given way to a steely resolve among global leaders. The EU and Canada, long the targets of Trump's ire, were not going to stand idly by. They would respond, and their response would be felt across the globe. The opening salvos of a trade war had been fired, and the world braced for the fallout. The international community, once united in cooperation, now faced a new era of uncertainty and division. Fault lines, the policies that ignited a trade war. At the heart of the conflict were Trump's signature protectionist policies. These policies were aimed at reshaping the global trade landscape in favor of American interests, but they had far-reaching consequences. The first major policy was the imposition of tariffs on steel and aluminum imports. This move, a cornerstone of his America First agenda, was intended to protect American industries from foreign competition. However, these tariffs ignited a firestorm. The backlash was immediate and intense, with protests erupting and news outlets buzzing with coverage of the escalating trade tensions. The EU and Canada, major exporters of these metals, were caught in the crosshairs. Trump's justifications rang hollow. The economic impact was felt on both sides of the Atlantic, with industries and workers bearing the brunt of the fallout. Another significant policy was the renegotiation of NAFTA, which Trump criticized as unfair to American workers. The new agreement, USMCA, aimed to bring more jobs back to the U.S., but faced resistance from Canada and Mexico. The EU and Canada, staunch allies in the fight against terrorism and global instability, saw through the charade. They recognized that the true motive was economic leverage, not security. This was not about security, it was about economic dominance, about America asserting its power at the expense of its allies. The trade war that ensued reshaped international relations and left a lasting impact on global trade dynamics. American jobs and industries under fire. The immediate impact of the tariffs was undeniable. American steel and aluminum producers, shielded from foreign competition, did experience a brief resurgence. Jobs, once lost to cheaper imports, returned. But this victory was short-lived, a Pyrrhic victory masking a deeper, more insidious cost. The tariffs had triggered a chain reaction, a domino effect of unintended consequences. The price of American goods manufactured with more expensive domestic steel and aluminum rose. American consumers felt the pinch, their wallets lighter, their purchasing power diminished. And in a cruel twist of irony, American jobs in industries reliant on affordable imports began to disappear. Section 4. The EU bites back, a unified front against Trump's tariffs. Across the Atlantic, the European Union was gearing up for a response. Feelings of betrayal and anger filled the corridors of power in Brussels. The EU, a staunch advocate of free trade and multilateralism, refused to be intimidated. A unified front was formed, a coalition of nations ready to confront Trump's economic policies. The EU's countermeasures were swift and precise. Tariffs were imposed on a variety of American products, from bourbon to motorcycles. The message was unmistakable. If Trump sought a trade war, the EU was ready to engage, and it would do so strategically, using its economic power to deliver significant blows to key American industries. Section 5. North of the border, a similar story, Canada's retaliatory measures. To the north, Canada, America's closest neighbor and largest trading partner, watched with growing apprehension. The two countries, bound by history, culture, and a shared border, now found themselves on opposite sides of a trade war. Trump's tariffs, far from strengthening America's hand, had driven a wedge between the two nations. Canada, though reluctant to engage in a trade war with its powerful neighbor, would not be cowed. Retaliatory tariffs mirroring those imposed by the EU were enacted. Canadian officials, once accustomed to cordial relations with their American counterparts, now found themselves locked in tense negotiations, the specter of a full-blown trade war looming large. Section 6, Shifting Sands, the global power balance in flux. The trade war, ignited by Trump's policies, rippled across the globe, affecting more than just economies. The delicate balance of global power, maintained over decades, was suddenly disrupted. Alliances weakened, trust diminished, as the world faced the uncertainty of a shifting power dynamic. China, often criticized by Trump, capitalized on the opportunity created by America's withdrawal from global leadership. The Belt and Road Initiative, China's grand strategy to link Asia, Europe, and Africa through extensive infrastructure, gained significant traction. As America turned inward, China stood poised to step in, ready to redefine the global order in its favor. Section 7. Reflecting on the enduring legacy of Trump's policies. The full impact of Trump's policies, much like the aftershocks of an earthquake, will be felt for years to come. These policies, often abrupt and unyielding, left a trail of disruption. Communities are now left to pick up the pieces, struggling to rebuild amidst the chaos. The global trading system, painstakingly constructed over decades, lies in tatters. Trade routes that once bustled with activity now stand silent, a stark reminder of the fragility of international cooperation. The economic impact is profound, affecting not just the United States but countries around the world. The rules-based order, championed by the United States since the end of World War II, has been undermined, perhaps irrevocably. Institutions that once stood as pillars of stability are now shadows of their former selves, their credibility questioned and their future uncertain. In the end, Trump's quest to make America great again has achieved the opposite. The nation finds itself more divided than ever, with social and political rifts deepening. The streets, once vibrant with the promise of progress, now echo with the cries of disillusionment and despair. America, once a beacon of hope and a champion of free trade, has become a pariah, its reputation tarnished, its influence diminished. The symbols of American ideals, like the Statue of Liberty, stand in disrepair, reflecting the nation's internal decay and external isolation. The world, once accustomed to American leadership, is learning to navigate a new, more uncertain reality, a reality shaped by the enduring legacy of Trump's policies. Global leaders are forging new alliances, seeking stability in a landscape where the old rules no longer apply. The international community, adapting to this shift, moves forward, leaving the United States to grapple with the consequences of its choices.